Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to wrap up this week's theme of spoken word, exploring tracks that feature spoken word segments, or, as we saw yesterday, are just spoken word. Although I think today we're going to lean towards having a segment in it. We're checking out Coheed and Cambria, Window of the Waking Mind. Coheed to me is not a band that typically does spoken word. They got their vocalist, their singer, pretty good singer, so that might be a bit of an understatement there. I doubt we'll hear much spoken word. Let's dive into it. It's been a while since we've checked out Coheed. Let's see what's going on with this track. Alright, so French horns. That's like the generic sci-fi sounds. Love the vocal production.
Time has a funny way of playing jokes on you while you're waiting for what you think you know will happen next is never what you could have come to expect, and so it goes. And so it goes.
It's very interesting. There's a combination of like 2010s pop style listings with 70s prog rock ideas. And it works so well. It really does.
As I wonder who he'll turn out to be. Is that a question that needs answering right now?
Ooh. Yeah. So three groupings of three and then a group of four.
Here's a simple story, and I hope I tell it well.
Yeah.
Of a boy locked in a place, his mind the very cell, imprisoned with his wild visions of every time and space. There's no one in this world quite like him. The thing that complicates it is his parents and who they are. The law they made to run from beyond the house of the stars. The birth must be in secret, so no prying.
The bass filling in the spaces between these guitar hits.
Our pride and joy. Are you there? Are you in there safe and sound? Tell us what you need so we can help you. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. Patronizing doctors with
I kind of wish we would have more of that. I don't like it being segmented.
query. It's blind, the boy, he bleeds. But you can't see him like you. So a monster he must be. There's no one in this world quite like him.
You know, that last section reminds me of Nothing More a little bit. Back to a nice 6/8.
Vaxes. Vaxes. Vaxes, can you see us with your eyes? Vaxes, can you hear us with your ears? Is this right to calculate his moments? To find what's normal is being normal.
Is that a snare roll?
What's
I mean, there was definitely vibration on the snare beads, but I didn't hear any attack. It's been a really light roll. Love that harmony right there.
I'll take you home, this child of ours. I'll take you home. With all my love, I'll give you the world and keep no secrets from you. So life gets tough, but it's no excuse or your fault.
Like an interesting mix of like Spock's beard and Big Big Train.
Am I wrong, or did he save me? Shine your love on all these crazy
What? A little bit of pop punk in here. When did this come out? This is recent then, yeah? I thought it was over. What? Okay, we got another minute of this. Just a beautiful outro. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to check out this Vaxis 2. Because that was intriguing. First of all, just like all the influences, I dropped Spock's beard and Big Big Train in there. I think both of those kind of cover sort of the progressive contemporary prog rock angle. But there's also some more progressive metal stylistic elements in here. Something that feels closer to like Dream Theater in some places. I mentioned some pop ideas at the beginning being paired with 70s prog instrumental concepts. It's like they chose 70s prog template for the instrumentation and the production on the vocals, but then chose for like popular melodic lines for the vocals to sing. That was an interesting combination. There at the end, right before our orchestral outro, that was straight up some My Chem Black Parade stuff. Like not just the single, my Black Parade, but also it distinctly reminded me of the track Sleep, the ending of it. And of course, all of this pairs back to some of the art rock stuff of the 70s and 80s, so we still have that tie there as well. And then the orchestral stuff all around. The fact that we have French horns right at the beginning, which are a science fiction staple. Um, it's just, you can feel the influences from every aspect of this, and it isn't in any portion where I would say, oh, this is just this is their orchestral inspiration. This is their prog rock. This is their, pop rock or whatever. Uh, they combine them all. I don't think there was any section where I was like, oh, this is distinctly them doing one thing. It is really awesome to see a band evolve in this way where they can pick and choose elements of what they enjoy listening to, what they want to make, and see them combine them in ways that are complementary to each other, and so that the end result is something that is a sum greater than the parts. I might have been able to say, oh, this section reminds me of both Spock's Beard and Big Big Train, but it also wasn't either of them, really. The section was distinctly itself because it was a mixture of some parts of one, some parts of another, and a hefty dose of Coheed in there as well. It's something that distinctly feels like Coheed to me, but I can still hear their inspirations from. That is something that lesser experienced groups can't can't's a strong word. Usually don't. We'll put it that way. Primarily in that they just lack the experience that would give them the wisdom to mix the ideas in such a way that is beneficial to everything while still having their core identity, which maybe on a first time album, you don't even have a core identity yet. You're just playing what you want to play. You like death metal, so you're playing some death metal, that kind of vibe. You don't really have a core identity to it yet. It's something that is really typically only given to musicians and composers who have been around for a while and have had the experience to do something as effective as what I just heard here. And that's what draws me to this. Coheed, I've listened to some tracks, Welcome Home. Everyone knows that song. I've heard it like a bajillion times. It's a good track. We've listened to some songs on the channel. They're good songs, but nothing's really been like, I have to listen to more. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this on previous reactions, but my buddy is like the hugest fan, knows all the lyrics to all of them, probably read the comics. He wanted to go on the Coheed cruise a few years back. Like he's a mega fan. He's been trying to get me into him for years. I've heard stray tracks here and there over the past 15 years. Nothing's really grabbed me. Then I hear this, the Window of the Waking Mind. And I'm like, yes, I need to hear more. And I know I was rather receptive to the last one we checked out. I don't remember what it was called. Uh, Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth. What album was that on? Oh, it's probably an older one because we did it for Childhood Nostalgia Week. That probably is not a recent. I remember I was fairly partial to that though. But this is just grabbing me. And part of it is just all these eclectic ideas smashed together into something new, something fresh. But I think it's also just the general diversity of everything, contrast, dynamic qualities. it's not just that we have all these different genres, it's that they're pieced together in a way that feels natural and allows the song to evolve into different ways that always bring something new to the table. We have more guitar focused ideas, we have orchestral focused ideas, we have vocal focused ideas, we have pop vocals, rock vocals, we have classic sounds to harmony, we have modern harmony. It really doesn't matter what's happening at any given time. If for some reason I wasn't enjoying it, which I think I enjoyed most of this, something new was right around the corner. And it's not even just a new riff or a new mode, it's new instruments, it's new styles of composition. This is a science fiction soundtrack. It is a prog rock song. It's a pop track at times. We have a pop punk outro, just very bouncy and happy. We have moody orchestral ideas. It's all over the place in a way that's somehow cohesive. I'm not quite sure how they did it. I need to give it a listen, another listen, particularly with pacing and phrasing in mind, to see how ideas move into the others. I know there were a couple of harsher ideas, but they didn't feel harsh to me. They didn't take me out of the experience. And that's usually what I mean when I bring up harsh transitions. It's not necessarily that we're just doing two ideas back to back. Some of my favorite music does that, but it's just about how jarring it is and how much it pulls me out of the experience, which is more of a subjective take on the objective idea of harsh transitions. There is the spoken word section, two of them in here. I'm curious what they're going to be. My wager, based on what I heard, is that they're narrative elements. Well, I mean, it's all narrative, right? Even if this isn't part of the Amory Wars, is that what it is? Um, it's still album two. It's Vax's two. I don't know that they've really done anything non-conceptual, so I'm gonna wager that this is still storytelling across at least a track, if not a whole album. But the end result is that these moments feel like they're conversational, I think. Especially the second one when he was calling out for Vaxis. I'm going to wager that that is just straight up dialogue. And so it works for this week, and I think it works even within the piece. I find those sections to they remind me of what that one group did with the Cimmerillion adaptation to an album, in that they would take moments outside of the music to push the story forward with dialogue. It's hit and miss. I think it works well in here because they're so short and because the song moves into them and out of them so effortlessly. I do have one complaint though, and it's the song's a bit disjointed. I mentioned that the flow and the transitions worked well enough, but I would have liked a little bit more crossover between some of the ideas, particularly the instrumentation. I think the classical side of things, the soundtrack side of things, tend to be split very clearly against the rock side of things, the pop side of things, the mainstream musics, the song versus the soundtrack, right? And so I kind of wish they would merge a little bit. Give me some of that brass and the string inside of the rock sections. I know we did have a clarinet show up at underneath one of the vocal lines against the guitar, and it just sounded gorgeous. It was later in the track, probably like 5, 6 minutes in. Caught me off guard because they hadn't been doing anything like it up to that point. Absolutely loved it. I want more of that. I wish that Coheed would just go the full symphonic metal direction and lean into that. Maybe that's not what they want to do. Maybe they want to keep things separate like this. If that's their plan, then that's their plan. I'm not going to tell them how to make music, but when we did get traditional instruments paired against the rock stuff, man, those moments were gold. Um, Aside from that, part of it's just going to be density. There's a lot of stuff going on, but nothing really stuck with me outside of the experience and the vocals. I couldn't really tell you any guitar riff or idea that I'm like, yeah, that was awesome, or any drum patterns. I think I took a lot of this in on the surface level, and part of that's just because I enjoyed my time with it. Songs like this pull me into the casual listening space, and sometimes it's too late for me to really realize it. But I also vaguely remember a lot of this being more atmospheric driven. There were a couple of riffs I recall, but a lot of chordal stuff going on in here too. Really setting atmosphere through tone, texture, and harmony, more so than anything that was like super catchy coming from the guitars or wild drum parts. And I think that's pretty typical for Coheed, but like I also think of Welcome Home, and that has like a pretty iconic guitar part to it. So I don't know. I think the end result is I just got to give this another listen to find the uh, to find the stuff that I missed the first time around. That big ending though, not the orchestral part, which was gorgeous in its own right. Absolutely beautiful movement, multiple instruments, counterpoint, ornamental concepts, just so well. I'm curious if anybody in the band writes the orchestral sections, or if that's maybe outsourced to a buddy of theirs or somebody else to fill those parts in. It's a very different type of composition than what we hear in the rock and metal oriented sections, and if somebody in the band covers both, I'm super envious of them. Um, because I think a lot of people look down on rock and metal as easy to write, but it really isn't. Like if you just want to make a rhythm with a chord to it, da 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 da, you're gonna make a fine rock song, but it's not gonna be super memorable, right? There is a lot that goes into riff making that I think people miss. Almost the same way that a lot of metal people miss out on how difficult it is to write a pop song that isn't garbage. There are skills to all musics, regardless of how simple they seem on the surface. And yeah, for them to be able to write groovy, catchy rock and metal stuff, and then this gorgeous, multi-layered, dense orchestral stuff, it's just yeah, I'm super envious if one person does all that. I'm gonna hit some lyrics, see what's going on there, and then we'll wrap this one up. Something I hadn't realized, although it makes perfect sense in retrospect, is that this song is broken up into 6 movements. Now, it's only an 8-minute song, and these are 6 lyrical movements. It's quite possible that the final orchestral outro is a 7th movement not documented by the lyrics, as it does start after an end. Like, I was sure the song was over, and then we just had like brass or string pop back in randomly. Regardless, at least 6 movements make sense as the aspects of this track are wildly different. As I already mentioned, there's a lot of inspirations in here, creating many different styles of music throughout this track. It's that diversity that I was talking about earlier that absolutely kept me on my toes, engaged with it. These 6 movements exist to tell a story, though. The opening one, Time, is a parent looking at their child for the first time, thinking that they had no idea what was in store for them in the future, and wondering if this is the answer to some question they didn't know they asked. Part 2 is spoken word, called The Awakening. Thanks to the annotation here, I see that it's actually Vax's speaking to us from the future. says, and so concludes this chapter as my parents unravel the entangled threads of my reality, not of design, but by accident, my perception in question as I leave the infinite for the present and rise, a window of the waking mind. What we can pick up through the lengthy third movement is that Vaxis is in a coma. The end of it says, "Son, do you hear us? Do you feel us?" The fourth movement asks these questions again. Can you see us with your eyes? Can you hear us with your ears? Questioning Vaxis, calling his name out. We hear this later in spoken word as well. The child's in a coma, or at least that's how the doctors and parents perceive it to be, but he's actually a higher being. Physically, he appears to be in a coma, but as we saw in the second movement, he just views everything in a different manner. He speaks to us from this body, from the future. And they see it as abnormal, something to cure. But the truth is that he's just more than human. He understands living, the experience of life in a different way than everyone else does. And that's pretty much the rest of the story there. Movement 4, as I mentioned, is his parents calling out to him. Movement 5 is a little message from his mother saying that, he's a bright star, and, no, that I'm a bright star, and I can shine. Wait, no, my bright star, shine your light on us all. Yeah, saying, even though you're different, you're still special. Right? And then the final one is a message from the father to the boy, imparting some wisdom on him as he gets older. It says, "Who says you gotta rush to get old? Figure it all out or be left in the cold. Don't follow, just set them free, and you can do it on your own time. I'll be watching you, but I'll be at a distance," kind of thing. Ready to jump in if necessary, but I'm letting you do what you need to on your own. That's what the song is about, this child, the namesake of the album. Vaxis Act 2 is about this child named Vaxis and his superhuman abilities. How being different doesn't mean that you're not normal, it just means that you're different, you're special. This is all backed up by an interview that Claudio gave to Apple Music. I mentioned that this character Vaxis is, it was an idea of his after reading a book about neurodiversity and seeing some of himself in that. I suppose, what do you say? I find it fascinating because I saw so many connections to myself and my son. So the idea of parenthood is baked into this, and it's probably why this new chapter of storytelling is about a child. People tend to write what they know, and parents tend to write parental ideas and stories once they've become parents themselves. So, yeah, it all kind of clicks together there. Those are my thoughts. Coheed and Cambria's Window of the Wakened Mind. I am kind of sold on this. I think I got to check out the two Vaxis albums, see what's going on there. I think that might be my starting point for Coheed. Anyone else, let me know if this is connected to the Amory Wars. I'm still not sure if that's the right thing for it. Should have looked that up. And if I enjoy this, if I should go back and listen to some of their older stuff. Also, usual stuff, comments, thoughts, opinions, perspectives, toss all that stuff down under the video in the comment section. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for this one. We do have some brand new music coming up next. Until next time, remember to be critical, tomorrow, I'll be back 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC. We're going to be checking out some An album. And I suppose I should put a theme thoughts out for tomorrow too, since we've explored spoken word. I gotta figure out if there's any tracks I know of that have spoken word in them. Oh, I do know a good one. And it was electrifying to be in person and have the whole crowd reciting the spoken word part with the vocalist. Yeah, I got a couple examples, I suppose. I'll put a theme thoughts out tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. is when I usually do that, Eastern Standard Time. What is that? 3 p.m. UTC? And then we have the album tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. UTC. Yeah, until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.